$14,000 is a lot, and I mean a lot of money. There's no getting around it, and when you jot down a list of things that one can buy with that many Benjamins, well, heck, that's a long freaking list. But a pair of speakers? Yeah. Audiophiles are nuts, and there's no skirting around this one today. The LS-6 speakers from PureArtFi are very expensive, and yet some folks are indeed willing to crack open the wallet for great sound, and that leads to my opening question. And with a warm welcome back to New Record Day, how in the heck do these things actually sound? So I want to ask you something. I've been thinking about it for the last few months as I've gotten to know the LS-6 like the back of my hand. What if the cabinet is the weak link? Everybody talks about drivers, PureArtFi, beryllium, diamond, ceramic, ribbon tweeters, better motors, better suspensions, better cones. But what if the driver is no longer the limiting factor? What if the real bottleneck is the box it lives in? Because here's the deal. Once you get your grubby hands on a speaker like the PureArtFi LS-6, that seems to be the question that they are trying to answer. Welcome back to New Record Day. My name is Ron, and if you consider yourself an audiophile or a music enthusiast, welcome home. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the PureArtFi LS-6. But before we get rolling, this indeed serves as your official ethics statement. PureArtFi sent me these speakers to review, but they have not paid me a red cent for this video, nor have they had any input on anything I'm about to say. In other words, all of my thoughts and opinions are my own, and that's that. PureArtFi is still a relatively new company, but the people behind it are not new to craftsmanship or high-end audio. The company was founded in 2022 by Paul Stover and Norman Tracy. Paul comes from a world of custom furniture and architectural millwork, spending decades building high-end furniture and interiors for luxury homes in Aspen, Colorado. As for Norman, he brings the engineering side with decades of experience in electronics, power supplies, acoustics, and loudspeaker design. And honestly, the LS-6 feels exactly like what would happen if you put those two worlds together and say, go, build me a bad to the bone speaker. So at a glance, you might look at the LS-6 and think, okay, another PureArtFi stand mount. So what? Well, slow your roll there, Captain America, because I think that misses the point that we're going to be chatting about. Sure, there are a lot of speakers now using the PureArtFi woofers, but PureArtFi believes once you get to that level of driver performance, the cabinet itself becomes the next bottleneck. And you don't need to convince me that that part is true. When a motor system is packed with that kind of punch, it can dump a surprising amount of reaction force back into the cabinet. So, instead of treating the enclosure like an afterthought, these guys have treated it more like the main event. Breaking it down, the LS-6 uses a 6.5-inch PureArtFi woofer, PureArtFi dual passive radiators, and a planar tweeter nestled in a waveguide. The cabinet itself uses over 1-inch thick walls, constrained layer damping, limp mass damping, internal sub-enclosures, non-parallel internal surfaces, separate crossover chambers, and a dedicated rear chamber behind the tweeter. And if that's not enough, they also physically isolate portions of the crossover inside their own damped chambers, both to reduce standing waves and to help prevent the woofer section from interacting with the tweeter section. And if that's not enough, the tweeter itself has a large rear chamber designed to absorb the rear wave, which improves openness and reduce coloration. In other words, folks, no, this is not just another stand mount with some PureArtFi drivers thrown in there. The LS-6 is a speaker that is designed to remove the speaker from the entire equation and gives us what we really want, which is a performance. And speaking of the cabinet, the build quality here is quite frankly astonishing. These do not look like the typical high-end speakers covered in glossy black paint. Instead, they look like handcrafted furniture. The hardwoods, veneers, oil finishes, and matching stands all give these a much warmer and more bespoke feel than a lot of the... And here is another piano black speaker that costs as much as your house. The cabinets are CNC machined, but they are also hand finished with multiple coats of oil, and customers can work directly with the company on wood and finish choices. And don't you get me started on the stands. I mean, seriously? Take a look at these things. And of course, Paul and Norman figured out a clever way to hide the speaker cables as well. That's right. The speaker is mounted to the stand and it's making an electrical connection all at the exact same time, which is just plain brilliant. When it came time to sit down and actually listen, I found myself going back to a lot of my usual tracks. Things like Dominique Fils-Aimé, Peter F. Patty Larkin, Vienna Tang, and a lot of the tracks that I tend to lean on when I want to hear ambience, layering, decay, vocal texture, and bass control. And no, it didn't take long for me to love what I was hearing as soon as I noticed just how little the LS-6 seemed to add anything extra to the recording besides ambience and clarity. Folks, this is not a warm speaker. This is not a romantic speaker. And no, it's not a speaker that wraps everything in extra richness or thickness. Instead, it sounds incredibly clean, incredibly organized, and incredibly low in coloration. You know, if you caught my recent video about audiophile lessons, I wish I knew from day one, you heard me talk about experiencing a lot of different speakers and then working backwards from there. Well, I've heard a lot of speakers, and the LS-6 is the flavor of hi-fi ice cream that I tend to like. It doesn't tell lies. It doesn't impart its own weird take on what it thinks Norah Jones is supposed to sound like. And it never calls attention to itself. No, the LS-6 is the kind of speaker that cracks open the stage, knocks down the walls on your listening room, and simply asks you one question. What did you want to hear? And you know what? I am here for that kind of a loudspeaker. Starting with top-end extension, this is one of the most interesting things about the LS-6. On paper, you can see a rise in the response at the top octave, and yet the LS-6 never comes across as bright. The top end is not forward, it's certainly not aggressive, and it never sounds edgy, harsh, or fatiguing. Instead, the LS-6 sounds analytical in the best possible way. What you get is more ambience. What you hear is a cleaner decay. What you notice is more shimmer. What you experience is a deeper and wider soundstage. Cymbals, reverb tells, little background details, and tiny ambient cues all seem to float a little longer and a little farther into the room. And I know for a fact, because of my own experience with Ali and Maddie, that lift at the very top is a big part of why these speakers sound so freaking spacious. There is a real sense of air around instruments, but at the same time, I never found myself getting tired of listening. There were no moments where cymbal hits started sounding like snakes hissing at me. There was no glare, there was no bite, there was no excessive sizzle. Just a very open and beautifully ambient top end. Following the lead of the top end, the mid-range takes all that beautiful ambience and wraps it around every single note. In doing so, It laughs at the idea that a flat or a linear speaker has to be boring. The midband is extremely neutral, clean, concise, and packed with incredible detail. Vocals sound natural, present, and well-focused. But where the LS-6 really impressed me was in its ability to separate things. It's almost like I could draw lines around every instrument in the soundstage, every little percussion hit, every layer, every texture. Everything just seemed easy to follow. There was no blur, there was no overlap, and there was no sense of one instrument smearing onto another. This is indeed one of those speakers that lets you hear deeper into the recording without making the music sound dissected or clinical. So no, you are not just hearing more detail, you're hearing more organization. As far as bass is concerned, this was a pleasant surprise because even though this is still a stand mount speaker, the LS-6 hits much harder and digs much deeper than I ever expected. In some ways, the LS-6 reminds me of the GR Research NX Bravo. Both offer that same kind of openness, speed, and ability to disappear. But when it comes to bass, the LS-6 has bass that feels like the NX Bravo is on steroids. It hits deep, it hits clean, and perhaps most importantly, it does it without any obvious cabinet resonance or bloom. There is no looseness here, folks. No overhang. No sense that the cabinet is talking back. Bass notes start and stop cleanly, and because of that, you can hear a lot of texture and definition in the lower registers. It's certainly not a warm, thick, or overly rich bass. It is articulate bass, fast bass, controlled bass, and for a stand mount, I thought it was very impressive. All right, folks, time to grab some headphones and let's listen to some sound clips. For these recordings, I use my usual SoundShed setup with the Zoom F8N and a pair of Earthworks QTC40 microphones. As always, clip 1 will be the original downloaded reference track, followed by clip 2, which is the LS-6, playing that same track here in the room.
Engineer, where are you headed? Engineer, where are you headed?
No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar, jamás no quería saber nada más, nunca más. No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar, jamás no quería saber nada más, nunca más.
All right, measurements, and this will come to no surprise to anyone. These look about as good as it's gonna get. For these measurements, I use my Clio Pocket with a gated window of about 6 milliseconds, which means we're gonna be looking at any kind of behavior above 200 hertz. Starting with the on-axis response, this speaker is very smooth overall with deviations as little as 2 to 3 decibels from tip to tell. From roughly 300 hertz to about 8 kilohertz, there are no peaks, no suckouts, no glaring crossover issues, and nothing that jumps out as problematic. The biggest thing that you will notice is a rise in the response in the upper treble beginning around 9 or 10 kilohertz, followed by another bump higher up in the top octave. Now, some people may look at that and immediately think, oh no, bright speaker, but that's simply not true. That rise is happening well above the region where most of us tend to perceive brightness, glare, or harshness. Again, what I heard was more air, more ambience, more shimmer, and more openness. Taking a look at the horizontal response, this is one of the best I have seen in all of the years that I have been doing this. You can see that response narrows gradually and predictably as you move farther off axis. But again, no ugly lobing issues, no phase issues, no directivity mismatch between the woofer and the tweeter. And as for the vertical response, it's also one of the best examples that I have ever measured. Yes, you can see some expected narrowing with that blue line, but that's 16 inches above the speaker, folks. So yeah, like the wonderful sounding B300s that we just reviewed, this is another textbook example of a properly engineered speaker that sounds as good as it looks. And best of all, with that kind of off-axis response, it's predictable. So the room you decide to throw these in, while still very important, will be way more forgiving than speakers that have a laundry list of issues in the crossover design. And the icing on the cake, the spectral decay is squeaky clean. In fact, this is probably one of the cleanest spectral decay plots I have ever measured. And given how much effort was put into cabinet damping, constrained layer construction, isolated chambers, and limp mass damping, I think the measurements do a very good job supporting that story. Honestly, in terms of overall cleanliness and lack of obvious issues, this is probably one of the cleanest looking sounding and measuring speakers in the history of New Record Day. So folks, there you have it. $14,000 is a ton of money to spend on anything, but for audiophiles who appreciate this level of care, attention to detail, and craftsmanship, the LS-6 is a loudspeaker that only needed to answer one final question before I could confidently say these are recommended. During my time with these speakers, I ran them on a wide variety of gear, including the low-cost amplifiers like the Douk A5, all the way up to the incredible sounding Burson Timekeeper Voyagers. I had them on tubes, courtesy of the Gallion TS120, and after the dust settled, I never once questioned the performance of the LS-6. Being as concise as I can possibly be, if, like me, you love a speaker that's clean, tells the truth, and blesses the music with believable realism and ambience, the LS-6 is not just a speaker that would get you by or a stepping stone until you can find the next one. No. The LS-6 would most likely be the last speaker you ever own. And with that, I'll see you PureArtFi loving audiophiles in the next video.